Welcome back to the 8th episode of the Best Kept Secrets of Supplements. I'm Bob Burdigan with New Wave Therapy, and joining me today is Dan Young of Country Doctor Nutritional Center. And our discussion today will be centered on yeast problems within the human body, what it is, what causes it, and what you're able to do for it. Now, the specific herbal product, the herbal-based country product, let's start that over. Now, the specific herbal-based country doctor product that we're going to be discussing today is HP YST RDX. Now, that's referred to as yeast redux, and it's been specifically designed to tackle situations that are directly related to yeast-based problems and how it relates to the overall immune system. Well, Dan, I hope I covered the opening correctly without messing it up too much.
Sounds good, Bob. Great job. Thank you so much. As always, it's great to be back with you.
I'm glad to hear that. We're getting to be quite a few, and this is number 8. We're really rolling here. And as we closed off the previous podcast, you mentioned that we were going to cover today was the starting to look into the possible negative effects that could occur within the immune system and what country doctors' herbal-based products can do to help people have a more effective immune system. Is that what we talked about, Dan? Is that basically covering it?
Yes, we're going to dive into one of the most common and unfortunately overlooked immune challenges that people deal with these days.
Okay. So why is it so important to have an immune system operating at its peak performance?
Well, clearly we want to make certain that it's one of the keys to vibrancy, to health, to energy. With the immune system off, we know that it affects metabolism, hormones, structural, energy output, cognitive function. The list goes on and on.
Okay.
And one of the most common overgrowths that we can have, it's actually an overgrowth, is the systemic presence of yeast, which in its natural, harmonious balance is a servant to us. So we have to have it in the gut to keep things in balance, but a little bit of overgrowth and it can open us up to a wide variety of pathogen activity, not just a yeast overgrowth.
No, okay. So, Dan, with most of the country doctor products that we've discussed over the previous podcast, now we've seemed to include additional products or protocols that seem to aid in the effectiveness of the product that we've always discussed. And is that also true for HP yeast redux?
Yes, there are the synergy, the synergy of herbs, the synergy of whole foods is well documented. We certainly respect nature's synergy with the country doctor herbals products for sure. And a synergistic product with yeast redux seems to be more often than not the bioflora, which is the pre and probiotic gut balancing flora that we have here at Country Doctor.
I've started to notice that there seems to be a specific pattern that each product takes in order to achieve the results that's being looked for. Is that correct?
Yes.
And if so, how does this product, HP Yeast Redux, tackle the overall problem of reducing yeast as well as aiding in the reduction of yeast buildup within the human body?
That's one of the best natural secrets of the herbal realm, the botanical realm, is it contains the genuine replacement parts to not only create an environment where yeast is right sized, it's downgrown, it's downgrown in its activity, but then the bioflora fills in the proper probiotics and prebiotics around it to help hold it in harmony. But more importantly, along with that, I should say, is that some of the herbals found in the yeast redux liquid and the yeast redux capsule is the ability to address a condition called leaky gut syndrome. Leaky gut is when the permeability of the gut allows things to enter the bloodstream before they've been properly metabolized and broken down, triggering a myriad of other responses.
Okay. Hey, I've been so busy diving into the basics of how this product works and why it works the way it does that I forgot to ask you what's in the product. And you obviously just told us that it's available in 2 forms.
That's correct. Yeah. We have our capsule version along with the delivery system that you and I like best.
That's right.
The tincture version.
That's
and
right.
When we look at the label here, I'll kind of get out here where I can see it properly.
You want me
apologize
to here?
for the lighting in my office. I'm still not back over in the lab side yet, so it's a little dark. Do apologize. But when you think of wild bergamot, okay, that's the number one ingredient in the product is wild bergamot. Wild bergamot has the ability to add back the integrity of the intestinal lining that's allowing a leaky gut type of situation to occur. Then the other things such as turmeric for the inflammation that can go along with gut imbalance that people will feel. We see in here that we've got garlic, which is one of nature's natural source antibiotics. It's been referred to in all the science and the literature in many countries. So we have that in there. The Padiarco is a healer, obviously the cayenne for the circulatory benefits. And then we have hyssop and the cumin with lemongrass that are also synergistically that when they're present, yeast does not thrive in the presence of those herbs, but it also promotes the healing and the anti-pathology activity properties of the garlic and the turmeric with the inflammation properties.
So Dan, why don't you explain some of the signs that a person would have in the event that they had a yeast problem in their system?
It's a great question, Bob. Most people that we see have some form of this, whether male or female or children, okay? It's no respecter of age or gender. And what happens is they'll get cravings for certain foods like pastries and pastas and grains, sugars. They'll have headaches, hormonal imbalances, ringing in the ears, dizziness, muscle cramps and Charlie horses, heart palpitations, real bad skin rash that itches, a lot of itchy skin, wild, vivid dreams, an itchy anal area, okay, is real common. So these are just some of the few things. Both men and women can get this. Men can have a yeast infection also, may remain internal, okay, but men and women both can have this environment, have this overgrowth that can really affect a lot of different things and manifest in, there's actually over 250 clinically documented unrelated symptoms that this one concern can bring about for a person.
Okay. Well, would there be any special recommendations for anyone that they say they're at a greater risk for having a yeast buildup problem?
People, women especially, who've been taking a lot of antibiotics, or men, antibiotic use is going to make them more susceptible. Okay, the prescription form of antibiotics. Women, primarily with oral birth control tablets, are going to be a little more susceptible to this type of thing. That's really kind of the two things that clinically we see most is a lot of use of antibiotics, the pharmaceutical version of antibiotics, and then the birth control tablets.
Okay. So you kind of touched on this earlier when you were explaining a few things, but, I'd just like to ask you, how many times in your clinical settings do you find yeast buildup among your clients?
Every day.
Every day. Just about everybody.
Just about every day. Yeah. This week, well, today I had 25 clinical evaluations and yeast fungal showed up on at least 7 of the clients, either ongoing, like they're working with it to get it corrected, okay, or it's another layer of stress that's new to them. So, and brand new clients really show a lot for this.
Okay. So again, going back to a person that has a yeast problem, are there any nutritional guidelines that they would need to follow?
Yes. And it's a little aggressive, doesn't have to be done perfectly, but it's from a dietary standpoint. The phase 1 food program is really based on a gentleman by the name of Doug Kaufman. Doug Kaufman is a great resource, has always been a great resource in this area when it comes to the dietary side of foods to avoid. And our resource that we use directly from Doug is called the Phase 1 Food Program. And it's on our website, and we certainly link a copy with you if you wish for your viewers. But it's only meant to be followed for 30 days. Okay. So, but when you look down through here's what's included in your diet and here's what's excluded in terms of the columns, it becomes a real quick meat and veggie very, very bland for the first 3 or 4 weeks, along with the nutritional support of the Country Doctor Herbals to put things back in balance. But we have to cut off the food that's feeding the problem. And so that would be in conjunction with the right herbals, is the right food plan for the first 30 days.
Yeah, I guess we could link that down, down in the comment section, have that link down in there for that. So, another thing I'm sure people are wondering is what's the main difference between Country Doctor HP Yeast Redux and the over-the-counter products available at their local pharmacy?
The biggest thing is anytime you introduce a chemical drug into an environment to try and kill off the yeast, you'll have an impact where it helps to right size the yeast for a while, but the second you quit using it, it revs it up and explodes because the chemicals and the byproducts of the yeast not being cleared out completely is also going to create an environment where the next yeast overgrowth happens much easier and much more rapidly. So you're talking about a much more efficient as well as effective way of handling this issue.
Okay. And what about the safe use of HP Yeast Redux for women that could be pregnant or nursing?
That's a great question. I typically avoid, the use of immune system support nutrients during early pregnancy.
Okay.
Now, as long as they're past the first trimester fully, and we can test them properly, then small amounts of yeast redux, we have had women use very successfully and safely during the pregnancy, and clearly after early delivery to help the baby with thrush and things like that. If mom passed some yeast on to baby during utero, and we see these kind of things develop sometimes. So it's really safe for nursing moms. And I prefer to see the pregnant mom past the first trimester before we start putting in a small amount of yeast redux.
Okay. So would the same thing be for children or not?
Children are safe. With kids, if we don't have a chance to test them, what we go by is the weight approach with tinctures, especially. You can do 1 dropper full per 30 pounds of body weight. And that's how you would handle it with animals as well.
Oh, okay. Is there anything else you need to add or,
I think we've covered it pretty well. I mean, it does come in capsule and liquid form. You and I tend to lean towards tinctures. We like the liquid. It's the better delivery system. Some people just want the convenience of being able to put a tablet in a box and take it with it wherever they go and take it whenever. So both are very effective at helping someone put this condition in the gut back in order.
There's one thing I've noticed, and it's been impossible to stump you on any questions that I've asked on any of the products that we covered so far. Well, I'm going to have to step up my game and start with next week's discussion. And I know this introduction of working with and keeping the immune system healthy, as well as allowing it to work at its peak performance using products like HP Yeast Redux, is only one of the many different products that can be used to maximize the operation of the immune system. Is that right, Dan?
That's correct. That's absolutely correct.
So since it appears I'm going to have to make the step up to my game, it's best to find out what I need to be studying for. And so what's on the horizon for next week?
Next week, we're going to discuss HP VRX. VRX. It's one of the premier products that we have in our product line for immune support and immune enhancement in a natural, non-invasive way. And most of your viewers are going to be able to gather from HP VRX what we're going to be talking about next week in our video series, ongoing video series on the supplements from Country Doctor Herbals.
So yeah, it's just one of those situations that we kind of have to be careful what we say so that we don't get knocked off air, and we can continue to educate people correctly about what really works out there.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And we want to make sure and just get this information out on a regular basis. I love the videos, Bob. I've been watching them on Mondays. You're doing a great job with them. I appreciate the opportunity to spend time with you like this and discuss these products, and most importantly, how they're enhancing and improving the lives of people all over the country.
Well, I'm just glad to actually put it together and we can actually make the time for each other and get together on a weekly basis and make them happen.
That's right.
So once again, I want to remind our viewers, both returning and new, that we do upload that new podcast each Monday. And if you haven't already done so, please like, share, subscribe, as well as give us that thumbs up to help the algorithm. And do hit the notification bell to be able to be notified when we do upload that new podcast. Now, along with hitting the like button, these are all actions that have really made this series continue to grow. So until next week, when Dan and I bring you more of the best kept secrets and supplements, be safe and be healthy.